Welcome to the FF Forge. My name is Steve, and it is time to finish up the rankings with the running back. You can see all the other positions. I've done them already. Wide receivers came out earlier today, and then the running backs and tight ends came out yesterday. You'll notice my schedule is all messed up. I have talked about my schedule in the previous videos this week for the positional videos, talked about that on the quarterback video. Then I've talked about explaining the different colors over here, the difficulty matchup, red is good, blue is bad. That's the short. But if you want to see some of those explanations, what's going on over here, then please check out one of the other videos and just watch them. They're pretty short this week, and that is on purpose. Got a lot on my plate crunching down the schedule this week. Instead of doing that, I want to just take a moment to say that I am thankful for all the new subs, for all the old subs, all of you subscribers. I very much appreciate that. That is awesome. And if you want to give me some input, I'm interested to find out if y'all are interested in creating a community. I'm not a huge exclusive community fan. I'd rather the community just be all up in the comments. If people who've subscribed so far, if you're interested in some sort of community, just let me know. Even in the future, whatever the case, let me know. But obviously, for now, I'm just focusing on the content, but that would be just good to know for the future. But thank you for the subs. You guys are already contributors. The likes, all of it all helps. So it is all appreciated. And now let's just get to the good stuff, the running back rankings. And for the running back ones, we start off at the first running back being Austin Ekeler, followed by Saquon Barkley, Christian McCaffrey, Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, Nick Chubb, Kenneth Walker III, Dalvin Cook, Jonathan Taylor, Travis Etienne Jr., Aaron Jones, and to wrap up the RB1s, I have Jeff Wilson Jr. at RB12. You can see the tier cutoff here between Kenneth Walker and Dalvin Cook. So we'll talk about Jeff Wilson for just real quick here, and that kind of includes the chat all the way down at I think it's RB31 for Raheem Mostert. I'm really excited for both of them this week, and there's a huge deficit in where they're currently ranked, and I don't like that huge deficit, but I also don't recall exactly what happened 2 weeks ago as far as usage goes. So I'll be interested to see what the projections once I get those done with, and I'll have to massage them a little bit for just the last, I think it's 2 games for Miami to see how that works. But it's a great matchup against Houston, and I think they're both very playable this week. The running backs in general are quite deep, as you just heard me say. I think the 31st running back's quite playable. There's going to be some shuffling around, too, of the running backs, I'm sure, once I have the projections done. But I have Jeff Wilson 3 spots ahead of the ECR. The ECR currently on him is 15. It's a great play. And you can see that tier ends here at RB14. So let's look at the RB2s. Starting at our running back 13, I have Tony Pollard, followed by James Conner, Ramondre Stevenson, Alvin Kamara, Miles Sanders, Jamal Williams, Dameon Pierce, David Montgomery, Antonio Gibson, Devin Singletary, Samaje Perine, and Deonta Foreman to wrap up my RB2s. So I have Tony Pollard 3 spots behind the ECR right now. I have him at 13. The ECR on him is 10. I spoke about this in the wide receiver video. I do expect this to be a little bit more of a passing game for Dallas. Well, I expect them to find more success in the passing attack, which should encourage them to pass more and maybe have a little bit of an issue. But as you can see, on the ground's not too tough either. So we'll see. Maybe just a totally balanced and super efficient attack. The New York Giants defense has suffered some injuries as of late, and so I don't think they're going to be as tough of a defense as they've been so far this season. I mean, I like Tony Pollard, and that also brings to mind there are, I think it's just 2 running backs that did not make this list. So Gus Edwards and Ezekiel Elliott, I think, will both be playing this week, so that obviously will change some things as far as the rankings go. I kind of did do Tony Pollard with that in mind as far as Ezekiel Elliott goes, but Kenyon Drake's not so much. I have James Conner. Let's just move on to James Conner, but I'm going to finish off a thought there for Tony Pollard. So I have James Conner at 14, which is 4 spots higher than the ECR. The ECR on him is 18. Going against the Chargers, it's a really good rushing matchup there for James Conner. I thought he looked pretty good last week. You know me, I'm not usually too excited about the Arizona running backs because I think that they're very touchdown dependent most games. But this is the type of game that might not be the case, and they might have to rely on the rushing attack more. and he got a lot of the workload until that game was put away last week. So a lot of faith in James Conner this week. And so that's where I have a hard time putting Tony Pollard into this next tier, because I feel like he deserves to be in this tier, especially even if they are passing. I mean, Tony Pollard's like the receiving back there. So I don't know how much further I could put him back if Ezekiel Elliott is playing. So that was the trouble. And that's why he's 3 spots behind the ECR. Then Dameon Pierce, I have at 19. The ECR on him is 16. So I have him 3 spots behind the ECR. Going up against Miami, and, he's been somebody I've been worried about all season. Now, he's come through just about every week this season in one way or another, so hopefully he can do that again. But obviously this is probably not going to be a good game script for that to happen, but they do tend to sit there and rely on that rushing attack pretty heavily no matter what. So maybe they can find some success through the air to help open things up for Dameon Pierce, and maybe he can come through for us once again. But this whole tier of running backs, I think this is really deep. RB 15 through 32 is Raheem Mostert. So a lot of RB2 flex running backs this week. And that'll bring us to Samaje Perine, who I have at running back 23, which is 12 spots ahead of the ECR. The ECR on him is 35. Obviously, this just has to do with the fact that we're looking at last week's rankings. To some extent, for some people, haven't gotten to this in time by the time that I downloaded the ECR rankings there. But going up against Tennessee, that's the main reason that I don't have them higher. It's a really, really tough matchup, so I'm not expecting some smash play week for Samaje Perine. Should be a good week, and I warned you about that if you watched the waiver wire video. Now let's move on to the RB3s, and once again we'll continue with that same tier here with Najee Harris, who I have 4 spots there behind the ECR, and I really don't like that, but I also had a tough time putting him behind some of those guys. So we'll see what the projections think about that. Followed up after Najee Harris, I have Rachaad White, Leonard Fournette, DeAndre Swift, Isaiah Pacheco, Michael Carter, Latavius Murray, Raheem Mostert, Joe Mixon, Cordero Patterson, Kenyon Drake, James Robinson, and Brian Robinson to wrap that all up at running back 36. Looking at Rachaad White and Leonard Fournette, both going obviously up against Cleveland, I have Leonard Fournette 4 spots ahead of the ECR. The ECR on him is 31. I have him at 27. Now, I know there's some injury concerns for Fournette coming into this game. I'm not too up to date on that. I don't think he's at risk of not playing. So I just kind of plopped them both right here. But I want to put them higher, but once again, just like Najee, I have a tough time figuring out exactly where to put them. I don't like this tier very much. Top to bottom, there's a lot of potential in it. Then Raheem Mostert, I talked about here, great matchup, and I have him 5 spots ahead of the ECR currently. The ECR on him is 37, I have him at 32, and another guy who I would like to get up higher, so I'll see what my projections are saying on that. Then Cordero Patterson, I have 8 spots behind the ECR. I have him at 33. The ECR on him is at 25, going up against Washington. Not a good matchup. They were starting to look like an okay matchup on the ground, but as of late, they once again turned that back around, and so not a great matchup there for Cordero. And I do really think that Atlanta's going to struggle on the ground in this game against Washington, which might not be good for them in general. I'm thinking Washington might whoop up on Atlanta this week. As you can see, also, this is a new tier where I'm starting to lose some of my faith in these guys. And then I have James Robinson 6 spots ahead of the ECR. This did not work out for me last week. ECR on him is 41. I have him at 35. Now, last week they just couldn't get anything going, couldn't get that rushing attack going. I should have been a little bit more concerned about that going up against New England, but they have Chicago this week. Much better matchup. I'll expect them. The only way they compete this week is if they get that ground game going. That's the only way they compete the rest of the year. So there's going to be a focus on that, and they should find some success in that. And that's where James Robinson comes in with that rushing attack. And this could look like 2 games ago for them on the ground, with a split amount of success between J-Rob and Michael Carter. Michael Carter just has that receiving upside a little bit more than J-Rob. Now let's move on to the running back fours, with Damian Harris up at RB37, followed by Elijah Mitchell, Tyler Algier, A.J. Dillon, Kareem Hunt, James Cook, Dontrell Hilliard, Jerick McKinnon, Cam Akers, and Alexander Madison to wrap that up at RB46, because 2 running backs didn't make it onto here, of course. 2 running backs should have. Real quick here, Kenyon Drake, this is like the backup running back alley right here. So Kenyon Drake would be ranked somewhere around here, maybe even right here, if Gus Edwards plays this week. If Gus Edwards doesn't play, I think you can move Kenyon Drake up into this area from DeAndre Swift on down, so up a little ways. And if Gus Edwards plays, probably same thing. I think I'd keep Kenyon Drake around here and put Gus somewhere in here. That sounds about right. So that covers that. Was there anybody to talk about here? So Darrell Henderson got released, put on waivers this week. So he is no longer with the Rams. That is why he isn't all red. And Cam Akers, I don't quite know what to do with that information. Although we at least have a sample from last week of what that might look like. But that offense, not even going to have their starting quarterback or wide receiver, and they weren't too great with them. Yeah, I don't know what to expect there. I think they'll have to try to rely on this ground attack. So optimistic for Cam Akers and Kyron Williams. Once again, I have them 3 spots ahead of the ECR. The ECR was 48 here. They didn't know this information at the time, because when I got these, that hadn't happened yet. So Cam Akers will he'll be ranked higher than this. So that's it for all of the ranking videos. Once again, the projections will and rankings, updated rankings, will be up by the end of the night here Wednesday, so that way they're ready for you for tomorrow. And have a freaking wonderful Thanksgiving, and come visit me 45 minutes, an hour ahead of kickoff tomorrow. If you're not doing anything and you want a little bit of company, I'll accept. All right, peace out.